Just take a minute. Look around you. There's history being made. Has been. Will be. How can there not? Just something about those blue skies, high banks, and high speed, all coming together in one perfect race. And it'll be here sooner than you think.
Roll Tide and welcome to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Great to be with you on this Tuesday edition of the show as Alabama's 5-0 on the season, looking for much more, and we'll get into that coming up on this show and on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, coming up on Thursday at 2 p.m. We'll start to go through our headlines for today that are presented by RJ Young. They're the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. And first, we'll check out what's coming up on the show this afternoon. As first, we'll take a look back at the Arkansas win with some fun booth cam highlights, as it was a very busy day on Saturday in Fayetteville, Arkansas, as the Crimson Tide got a 49-26 win over the Razorbacks. So you get to see all the highlights from that ball game from the booth that we had, again, a lot of fun in on this past Saturday. Then we'll hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, with Coach's Checklist as he takes a look back to the Arkansas win, plus looks forward to Texas A&M. Jahmyr Gibbs is the SEC Offensive Player of the Week, and we had a great opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with him about his great performance against the Razorbacks. And then we'll chat with Chance Warmack, of course, a great offensive lineman for the Crimson Tide that in his time in Tuscaloosa won 3 national championships. He was a team captain of the team we're honoring coming up this Saturday, the 2012 national champs. So can't wait to catch up with Chance Warmack in a few. And then we'll take a look back to Crimson Tide Rewind from last night at Baumhauer's in Vestavia. Be kind, Crimson Tide Rewind with Corey Reamer getting his thoughts on the Arkansas win coming up as well. Some other headlines. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's start with the soccer team for today because they last Thursday picked up another victory. Now a 2-1 win against Georgia. It was the first time in a while Alabama just had a 1-goal victory. Usually it's been multi-goal wins as this team keeps rolling. Riley Tanner, Ashlyn Sarepka were able to score there. Felicia Knox assisting once again for the Crimson Tide. She leads the nation with 12 assists. Nobody else has not more than 9 so far this year, and 12 assists is already an Alabama school record. Coming up this Thursday, the Crimson Tide home against a very good Ole Miss team that did fall last time out. We'll have to see how the rankings come out today to see whether or not Ole Miss will be ranked, but Matthew Mott has a really good team. This is a great matchup coming up on Thursday night in Tuscaloosa. So congratulations to the 5th-ranked Alabama soccer team. The Alabama football team now number 1 in the nation again after defeating Arkansas 46-29. Georgia had been number 1, but they had a tight game against Missouri, so Alabama bumped back up to number 1 in the country. Coaching staff selecting 8 players of the week. More information about that available on RolledTide.com, and also Jahmyr Gibbs, the offensive player of the week in the SEC, 206 yards rushing. He had those 2 long runs of both over 70 yards for touchdowns in the fourth quarter that really put the Arkansas game away. Some final notes around Crimson Tide athletics. A great start to the season for Alabama rowing. Coach Putre's squads earning top 5 finishes in a couple of different boats in Oklahoma City. So great to see that. The volleyball team took on Kentucky that a couple of years ago won the national championship, and they fell at Kentucky on Saturday. Baseball team continuing to practice at Sewell Thomas Stadium, and the weather is absolutely perfect if you want to go watch some fall baseball over the course of this week. And always, we remind you to download your tickets and parking passes now for Alabama against Texas A&M. If you're able to do that now, it just saves you so many headaches on game day and also allows you to enter the stadium much faster and get to campus with your parking passes. So go ahead and add those to your Google and Apple wallets as soon as you can to be ready for game day. This past week, we were on the road in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the booth was buzzing as Alabama picked up its 5th win of the year. Let's take a look back at our booth cam highlights from Saturday.
Working against noise, 2 seconds on the play clock. Get the snap off in time. Slant across the middle. Catch made. Prentice, foot race. Forget it. Touchdown, Alabama. 47 yards. It looked like it was shaping up to be a train wreck, but that locomotive got going down the tracks, and Alabama is able to get on the board. Fletcher punting from inside his own end zone. Kool-Aid back at his own 40. Love to see him return one right here, and let's buy some more time for Bryce to heal up with or deal with whatever it is he's dealing with over on the Alabama sideline. The snap is to him. He'll punt it. And a high, beautiful spiraling kick. Kool-Aid will try to return it, though. Gets it back at his 36. Goes left side. Gets a couple of blocks. 50. Kool-Aid 40. Kool-Aid 30, cutting it back 25. Kool-Aid inside the 20, and finally brought down just shy of the 15-yard line. Another great return from Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Birmingham's Pinson Valley High School. 45 yards on that return.
My Lord, this kid's dangerous with the ball in his hands. Remind me of a Javier Arenas right here. Every time he gets it, I'm holding my breath because it feels like he's going to go to the house, setting up the blocks, and that booming kick right there, you would think it would give Arkansas's punt cover unit time to get down there and set up, but Alabama set up the return to the left side. Kool-Aid takes it down inside the red zone for Alabama.
Handoff, no, keeper, Milroe, touchdown Alabama. Jalen Milroe, the rushing touchdown for the Tide, and Alabama now leads it 20-0 over the Razorbacks. Again from the pistol, Jefferson having to step up in the pocket, having to go down as he gets leveled. So again, a 3rd and long for Alabama from the 22. They swing it near side to Earl. He's got room. 15, 10, 5, touchdown! JoJo Earl, 22 yards. They throw the screen right side. He got a couple of blocks. He turned on the Jets. He found the end zone, and Alabama extends its lead to 27-0 late in the second quarter.
JoJo Earl has been injured all season long. It's his first catch of the year for a touchdown. It makes a guy miss. How about the spin move about the 5-yard line to get in the end zone for the touchdown?
You would think they could catch a greased pig here in this town, but they couldn't catch that one. JoJo Earl just squirted right through and found the end zone.
Not if you're wearing number 10 for Alabama, not going to bring him down. That's got to feel good for JoJo, too. After being injured all season long, come in. Huge third down play for the touchdown.
McClellan in the backfield. 4 wideouts available, 3 of them stacked to the right side. Milroe will step up. He will run it. He will get to the 25, 30, 35, 40. First down. Still on his feet. Foot race. Milroe 40. Milroe 30, 20. One man to beat. He gets into the end zone. No. They're going to spot him out at the 3-yard line. But what a play. Jalen Milroe tried to tightrope at the last 3, but he stayed alive long enough to quiet this crowd.
See what Alabama dials up right here. Milroe's talking a lot, too, on the right side. Here comes Kendall Randolph with him, so we'll have 2 big guys to the right.
Emil Ekiyor trying to rally that offensive line to bull its way forward as well from the pistol again. With McClellan to his right, Milroe hands it off, walks into the end zone, touchdown, Chase McClellan. The sea parted, and Alabama walks it into the end zone. McLaughlin, the center, leading the way, and the Tide extends its lead.
3rd and 15 for Jalen Milroe. 3rd and 15 and pulls it down. Massive play from him on the run to get inside the 5-yard line. And then just the commitment right there to get in the end zone. You got to score a touchdown. You got to score points. 77-yard run for Milroe.
Jefferson from the pocket, steps up, weaving, tripped up, goes down. Huge play again by the Bama defense. Deontay Lawson out of Mobile Christian down to the Port City, able to make the hit and force Arkansas to punt it away. He will go in a handoff to Gibbs. Turns it up, foot race, 40, midfield, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown, Jahmyr Gibbs. 72 yards to the house, and Alabama quiets the crowd even more. It's 41-23.
Couple big explosive runs from Alabama the past 2 drives. 77 yards for Milroe, and right there 72 yards for Jahmyr Gibbs. And Alabama has run the ball coming out of the possession every single time today, and that one right there, the biggest of the day. 72 yards from Gibbs. First play coming off the possession for a touchdown.
Which is the Alabama sideline. Now he'll come in motion and go behind the quarterback. The handoff will once again go to Gibbs, and once again he's in a foot race. Once again to midfield, once again beyond, and once again to the end zone. Jahmyr Gibbs, touchdown Alabama. Another long run, 56+ yards on this one to give Alabama another long touchdown run.
Tell you what, this has been impressive, the explosiveness of our run game here in the second half. 77 yards from Milroe there on 3rd and 15. And it was 72 from Gibbs, and that one was 76 yards.
I was only off by 20. My apologies.
It was close. You know, when these runs get over 50 yards, it becomes difficult, but we'll take it right there for Alabama putting more points on the board. Well, Chris, I was trying to find the last time that Alabama went over 300 yards rushing. We got 304 on the day. You remember when it was?
Help me, Coach.
It was last year. I thought I was going to go deep in the record books. It was last year against Cincinnati.
Yeah. As the final 2 minutes are going to tick away, and the red out has changed to a get out, and it has for about 30 minutes here in Fayetteville, as Alabama has quieted what was a fantastic crowd supporting the home team. But as Nick Saban loves to see on the road, an empty stadium in the final seconds.
Yeah, shut it down. I mean, really did. I'm proud of this team for the way they handled it, the way they were covered.
3rd and a yard, 38 seconds to go. The handoff once more goes to Sanders. He'll go forward for another bank first down. We haven't had many bank first downs in this second half. Hadn't needed them. Now when you get 72 and 76-yard touchdown runs and a 77-yarder that sets up another short run. Alabama will watch the final seconds tick away as Nick Saban and Sam Pittman, two men who respect each other greatly, will meet at midfield, shake hands, and now the final 6 seconds will tick away. And I always love it when we can hear this song.
That's the ball game, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you could until they turned up the PA a little bit louder, but you get the picture. Bama, a little ramma-jamma on the road. The Yellow Hammer was indeed laid down on the Razorbacks. 49-26, your final score.
I admit I was looking pretty nervous in that back corner for a lot of that game, but once Jahmyr Gibbs had those great touchdown runs in the fourth quarter, everything was starting to feel good, and we had a lot of fun. Again, for our live booth cam presented by Royal Furniture that we have running live all throughout Alabama football games all throughout the season. So if you liked what you just saw, make sure you join us, and even if you're watching the game maybe at home on television, just pull it up on your tablet, on your phone, or on your laptop, and join in all the fun we have with this. I think you'll really enjoy getting to see that happen as it happens. Well, the Crimson Tide certainly glad to get a win against Arkansas to improve to 5-0 in the season. Now the Crimson Tide getting ready for this Saturday night showdown with Texas A&M. And to begin this week here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network and in Tuscaloosa, it was head coach Nick Saban meeting with the media as he lays out his coach's checklist for this upcoming week against Texas A&M.
After reviewing the film, I don't feel a whole lot different than I did after the game. You know, we did a lot of really good things, you know, in this game, made a lot of explosive plays offensively, did a good job of creating balance, run and pass. You know, defensively we played really well, you know, for the first, you know, couple quarters of the game. But really, you know, we lost our intensity in the third quarter, had a disastrous third quarter relative to statistics, relative to errors in the kicking game, relative to field position, time of possession, you know, whatever you want to talk about. But have to give the team a lot of credit for gaining the resiliency to, you know, come back and play really well in the fourth quarter, which was, you know, really the difference in the game. So a lot of lessons to be learned here, and hopefully our players will learn that I think we had the right mindset playing on the road. We started out the game really, really well. I don't think we sustained it like we need to, and you know, that's the next step of what we need to learn. But you know, Texas A&M has a really, really good team. These guys have a lot of good players. You know, Jimbo does a really good job of coaching them. A lot of challenging, you know, things on offense has always been the case with him being a really, really good offensive coach and play caller. They got some very explosive players on offense. You know, Evan Stewart's a really good receiver. A-Chain, I think I'm saying his name correctly, number 6, is really an explosive player, not only as a returner, but as a runner and a receiver. I mean, this guy is a very, very talented guy. So they've got a really, really good offensive team. They've got a really good defensive team, one of the top defensive teams in the SEC. They've got really good specialists. So, this is a really good team all the way around. And, what happened in last week's game is not going to have any effect on what happens in this game. We could go say it was the same situation a year ago. They're going to play really well against us, and we got to be ready to play our best, as a team to be able to take advantage of it. I know you're interested in the injury situation. Really, there's no updates on Bryce. He's got a little bit of a shoulder injury. It's not a long-term, type injury. He's going to be day-to-day when he can get back to, throwing. And we'll just have to evaluate it day to day. So I can't tell you if that's going to be today, tomorrow, or the next day. Brian Branch should not going to practice today, but should be okay after today. Justin Boygby is he's got a neck injury that we're having specialists look at to make sure we manage correctly, and we're not going to allow him to play until we can get the exact, most expert plan of action for him and his future.
And that was Coach's Checklist as we continue on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. And NASCAR is kicking off the 2023 regular season with the Daytona 500. Don't miss the opportunity to experience history as the drivers battle it out in the 65th running of the Daytona 500. Purchase your tickets today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com and get ready to experience the biggest race of the year. Well, off to the races was Jahmyr Gibbs in the fourth quarter against Arkansas. Again, two great long touchdown runs of 72 yards, 76 yards that helped put the game away. He had 206 yards rushing against the Razorbacks, and for that, he was named the SEC Offensive Player of the Week. And yesterday, we had a chance to have a one-on-one conversation with this week's SEC Offensive Player of the Week, running back Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr, we saw the ground game working at Arkansas. How'd you feel about how Alabama rushed the football in some of your big runs in the fourth quarter?
Felt great. O-line did a great job communicating, getting to where they needed to be. They did a good job all week of preparation and knowing what to do, so I'm very proud of them.
When you're able to hit the hole, had some green space in front of you, just as you're making your way to the end zone, especially when there aren't a lot of players around you, what goes through your head?
I don't know, score, I guess. I don't got really nothing going through my head. I'm just running.
Yeah, some really good separation for you, and obviously this game did change a little bit when Bryce went out with injury. Jalen Milroe came in, but what can you tell us about how you've got to know Jalen and what kind of player he is?
I know he's a competitor like everybody else at Bama, so I know he was ready to go. He works with Bryce every day, so I know Bryce teaches him a lot of stuff that he can take on when he needs to step up, and that's what he did. So.
Bryce was on the sidelines in the second half. Was he giving him some good encouragement? And have you talked to Bryce recently?
Yeah, he's been motivating everybody. He's a team leader, so he, like I said, he motivated everybody to stay in the game, be locked in, and yeah.
Really hostile crowd this past Saturday in Arkansas. You saw that against Texas as well. Did that help you maybe get ready to play Arkansas?
I mean, last year when we played Clemson, that was a big wake up because that was my first huge crowd, so I was kind of already used to it. So,
well, I'm sure you're excited to be back in Tuscaloosa with all these fans once again.
Yeah, I love the fans, love the fan base. It's Roll Tide.
All right, well, Jahmyr Gibbs, thank you for joining us, Roll Tide.
Yep.
Just take a minute. Look around you. There's history being made. Has been, will be, and it'll be here sooner than you think.
Here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, we go from one of the current stars of Alabama football to one of the legendary stars of Crimson Tide football. And this week, we get to say hello to Chance Warmack as our Alabama Legend of the Week. He, along with Damian Square and Barrett Jones, are the honorary captains for this upcoming Saturday's game against Texas A&M because this is the 10-year anniversary of Alabama's national championship in 2012, the great blowout win over Notre Dame in the BCS national championship game in Miami. And Chance Warmack was a huge part of that. He was actually part of 3 national championship teams while he was a member of the Alabama Crimson Tide. So as we get ready for Saturday, we say hello and Roll Tide to Chance Warmack, our honorary captain and Alabama Legend of the Week. Chance, Roll Tide, it's great to see you. First of all, are you excited to come back and be honored along with your teammates from 2012 this weekend?
Oh yeah, I'm excited, man. It's been a long time. It's always a family environment. It's always good to be back home, get the whole feel of the vibe back. it'll be exciting. I'm excited to see everybody again. Looking forward to it.
You've gotten to celebrate some 10-year anniversaries of the '09 champions, 2011, now 2012. Does it feel like it's been that long since you were playing for the Crimson Tide?
It's crazy because it doesn't feel that long, but it's been 10 plus years. It's crazy. Like I said, I can't believe time has passed that much. It really makes you appreciate like what we did in the past, and just really look at it for what it is. Like not a lot of people were able to accomplish what we did.
Let's go back to your high school playing days from the Atlanta, Georgia area. When was Alabama first put on your radar, and what were you sold on during the recruiting process? Because at that point, the Crimson Tide hadn't won any national championships yet under Coach Saban, but you were part of the foundation that helped get those first titles.
Me coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, Westlake High School, I really didn't have a lot of scholarships coming out. I was, struggling to try to get on. I was trying to get any scholarship at that point. I think I only had like 5 scholarships, and Alabama was really the first school that offered me my first scholarship. I think it was like my sophomore year. And I just, I ran with that. I committed to them because they were the first ones to commit to me. Originally, I'm a homebody. I like to be close to home, so I wanted to go to UGA, but they told me I was too short, and Alabama believed in me. So that was really the starting drive for my whole situation. Like I wanted to, kind of help them just like they helped me out. They believed in me, so I believed in Alabama. And it worked out.
Certainly did. And when you got to Tuscaloosa, who are some players or maybe your assistant coach that really helped you get used to the college game and allow you to play?
Oh, Joe Pendry, that's my guy. He's helped me since, I was a baby, since I was 17 years old coming into the program. Walked me along the whole offensive line play, just the rules of the game. Then you have Jeff Stoutland, that's my other guy. That's my other offensive line coach that I had, from sophomore year to my senior year. And he kind of developed my game into what it is or what it was, going into the NFL. And I just appreciate those guys, for the most part, that just take time in developing me. It takes time for an offensive lineman to really get into his technique, into his position. And those 2 coaches specifically are top notch, not only in just offensive line play, but just in football in general. And it reflects our success, at the program. So, just kudos to those 2 guys specifically. Both my offensive line coaches helped me a lot. Coach Saban, of course, he played a big role in my success, pushing us and pushing me specifically and just trying to make me the best player I could be. But the whole program really just did an outstanding job. Like, they really care about you in your development. Not too many other programs that I know of truly care about the development of the player, whether you're doing well or not. They want you to be the best player you can be. So everybody, in that program back then when I was there and now, still top notch and A1 level, and I appreciate everything that they did for me.
How important was the 4th quarter program for you and all the work you did in the weight room with Coach Cochran?
So the 4th quarter program, that's kind of like a if you know situation. Only guys who've actually been on the team know about that. I've never passed it. For the guys who've never passed it, you can still be successful. But it definitely brings out the will to win in you, because you have to dig deep and you have to push yourself in uncomfortable situations. And Coach Saban always preaches that, because in the game it's going to come down to, the last seconds. And the guy who's most tired is usually the one who gives up. So 4th quarter is generally for that, just to push us and get us to that breaking point to where we're still able to perform at a high level. So even though I hated it, it was really really beneficial for me.
It certainly paid off for you and the Crimson Tide, and you were an offensive lineman in a time where Alabama was known first about running the football, and you got to play with some outstanding running backs in your time there. What can you tell us about the relationship that the offensive line had with so many of the great backs like Mark Ingram? We saw Eddie Lacy and Trent Richardson have great success after you guys were blocking for them.
That's just it's a field. Everybody on that team at the time wanted to make an identity. You know what I'm saying? Like the identity of the team. And like you said, we run the ball. So whether it's Mark in the backfield, it's Eddie in the backfield, or it's Trent, or TJ, we're gonna get 5 yards at least. You know what I'm saying? And that was the mentality, from the time I was there to even now. We at least getting 5 yards. You're gonna give me 5 yards. So, just that mentality of being dominant and being physical on the run, whether you're running back or offensive lineman or even a receiver. We have receivers blocking, selfless. So I think that's what you see when you talk about those kind of teams is selflessness, willing to give up your body for those extra 5 plays.
Of course, the 2009 team went undefeated throughout the season, winning the national championship. But the last 2 teams you're on in 2011 and 2012 both had losses in November, but then persevered, made it back to the national championship game and won then. Just what can you tell us about those moments where it was after either the LSU loss, 2011, A&M, and 2012? How did you guys stick together and play your best knowing you still had an opportunity in front of you?
I think when you lose a game, it really reflects what type of team you actually are. Because when you're winning, you're on the come up. You're at a high all the time. Everybody's telling you how well you're doing, and you're overlooking a lot of your mistakes that you're already, seem to be committing. So when you lose a game, it puts the magnifying glass on. You kind of have to be critical of everything that you're doing, and it makes you that much more better in what you are already doing. We only lost 1 game in each one of those seasons, but it felt like we lost 5 games. And we all knew what we wanted to be and what we wanted to do at that time. So I feel like everybody had the same mindset. We all wanted to be number 1 at the end of the day. And that pretty much reflected what we did from there.
Well, and to be able to get into the 2012 national championship game, first you got to beat Georgia in the SEC championship game in Atlanta. You mentioned you had interest in Georgia when you were younger. What was that game like for you, especially on the sidelines, watching Georgia drive down the field and then running out of time? I mean, that must have been a stressful moment.
I mean, for us to even be able to play Georgia in the SEC championship my senior year was crazy. Like, right, that's the Lord. For that to even transpire like that, that's like a video game. So for us to beat them, and they were a really good team at the time, in that fashion, it was just speechless, right? You can't really put it into words. Just blessed and thankful to be on this team and on that team at the time, and we go off to win the national championship, and the rest is history. So it was just a blessing.
It really was. And then from there, you're on to the NFL, where you had a very good career as well, starting with the Tennessee Titans. And of course, the Super Bowl championship was in your future as well. Just what can you tell us about your NFL career? What are you most proud of from your time in the league?
Man, just to be able to get in, you're talking about a kid who didn't even know if he was capable of even going to the NFL, to make that transition and to get there and to play and to start games and just to experience those experiences. And it's not really a lot of people that can speak on those situations. So, but the biggest, achievement for me so far was just a Super Bowl. Like, not too many. Just imagine trying to get to a national championship. Like, it's 100 times harder to get to a Super Bowl. It's only 32 teams, and you managed to not only win it, but you beat Tom Brady, which is one of the best quarterbacks in history, right? Undebatable. So, it was just it's a blessing from the Lord just to be able to even speak, these conversations and even to be a part of that. So.
That's a lot of rings that you picked up then. All the national championship rings and the Super Bowl rings. I mean, do you have the whole hand covered? I know you got at least 3 national titles in a Super Bowl. Any more?
Nah, man. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to win the state championship. But I'm thankful. Again, if you would have asked me back in 2008, Chance, do you think you're gonna win 3 national championships in a Super Bowl ring and be an All-American? I would have shook my head no. So it's the Lord, man. I'm thankful.
Definitely. And those are cool mementos as well. But how about on campus at Alabama, getting to be a captain for the Crimson Tide? You have your handprints, your cleat marks around Denny Chimes. Your name is prominently displayed on the Walk of Champions, being a captain in 2012. Just what does that mean to you, knowing that you're able to take your family and friends to see those spots and knowing that those spots will forever be on campus at Alabama?
Oh, it's just a big honor. Again, even when that happened, I wasn't expecting it. I was more so happy to just win a championship with my friends and my teammates. Um, those group of guys meant a lot to me. We grew up together for 4 years, so just to achieve that level of honor, at that time meant a lot to me. So to be a captain of that team, that's enshrined forever in my mind. So I'm thankful. It's God. I feel like if you just put your head down and work, everything will take care of itself. So, yeah, thankful.
Absolutely. Well, we know you're coming back to Tuscaloosa this weekend as one of our honorary captains, but what can you tell the fans you're up to these days?
Oh man, well, I wasn't expecting to look this good at 31. Nothing really, man. Still keeping in shape. I'm actually working on some offensive line gloves. Experimenting with a couple of items with that. So, trying to, pretty much get my mindset on engineering football equipment. That's kind of what I'm into now. So yeah, look forward to the gloves for the offensive lineman. That's pretty much what I'm into for right now.
Look forward to seeing that. And we look forward to having you back in Tuscaloosa, Chance, this upcoming weekend, being honored as one of our honorary captains as we celebrate the 2012 national champions. Just thank you so much for joining us here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Chance. Roll Tide.
Thank you for having me. Roll Tide. Thank you.
Roll Tide to Chance Warmack, a really fun conversation with him. Look forward to celebrating him along with Damian Square and Barrett Jones as our honorary captains this Saturday, Alabama against Texas A&M. Well, somebody that played a lot of great football as well for the Crimson Tide early in the Saban era is, of course, Corey Reamer, who's a co-host with me, filling in for Eli, of course, on Crimson Tide Rewind on Monday nights at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. We had a good time, a good crowd last night at the restaurant as we started to look back at the Arkansas game and look a little bit forward to Texas A&M. But here's part of the show last night, the segment we like to call on Crimson Drive, Be Kind, Crimson Tide Rewind. So Alabama jumps out to the 28-0 lead. Arkansas then makes it 28-23, and a lot of Alabama fans were worried that here we go again. Once again, a tough time on the road, but it seemed like in the fourth quarter, not just the explosive plays on offense, but the defense as well really turned it up a notch.
Yeah, they held us in this game. I mean, they did a great job. Of course, third quarter, given Arkansas, I think they scored 16 points in that third quarter alone. A lot of it was just mistakes that we created ourselves. It wasn't exactly what Arkansas did to really just beat us. It was the missnap on the punt, and there was just a lot of errors that we kind of gave them a lot of opportunity to stay in that game. And Arkansas putting together a pretty good drive right there before halftime to get it cut it down to 28-7 with momentum going into halftime. All the things that happened in that third quarter, they pull it within 5 in the third, and then Alabama takes over. But that defense really did a great job because Arkansas had opportunities late in that third, early in that fourth quarter. They were moving the ball and holding them to field goals in a lot of those situations, and then our offense really took over and put up 21 points in the fourth quarter to really extend that lead and close out that game and make it a wider margin of victory. But it was a little dicey there in that third quarter. And Coach Saban talked about it in his press conference. The greatest thing that we did on offense, even after Bryce goes down, but even when Bryce was still playing, we just had a lot of explosive plays, a lot of big passes earlier. Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, even earlier in the game. We just had a lot of young guys. And those are two freshmen that have really stepped up for these wide receiver groups that we weren't sure when Tyler Harrell was going to come back. We saw JoJo Earl come back and make a big play for us, score a touchdown for us. That's great to get him going. And we saw, once we hit that one, that was a good mismatch that they found against the safety. I can't remember the guy's name, number 2, but we exposed that matchup all night long. Prentice with a quick slant. It reminded me a lot of when Tua and Jalen were back, where we just came out and hit slants and let those guys, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, just get the ball in their hands and let them break free. Getting mismatches on the safety is something that we took advantage of all night, and we saw that happen a few times. But you get a man-to-man coverage like we did with some of these wide receivers and no help over the top, and you got a safety trying to cover the guy in the slot who's obviously a wideout. He was playing in the slot and goes out there, just makes an explosive play, and nobody has a chance to catch him.
And as a linebacker, a quick slant, I mean, what are you doing on a play like that?
Yeah, you're looking, you're play and run. Your first step's downhill. You're obviously looking, and you're just trying to get in the window. That's the biggest thing you can do. But these quarterbacks are so good at seeing what kind of matchups they have, and the ball comes out so quick. You can't get wide enough to get a hand in the window, and you're hoping that your defensive line really, if they're trying to rush, their hands aren't up and trying to get in those throwing lanes. And with as fast as that ball comes out, there's no chance for anybody to be able to get their hands up and bat that ball down. That's the only way you can really stop those is you get a defensive end who's coming off the ball and gets his hands up pretty quick and gets in the way. I think he did great. And I tell you what, this is why you get him reps as much as you possibly can in these games that are leading up to this. And I'll tell you what else is impressive is with NIL and the transfer portal, this is the benefit of being able to keep a quarterback that's the backup. You know, he's a highly recruited guy coming out of high school. We were excited to get him, but he knew he was coming in and he's going to be Bryce's backup. And he sticks around. You see a lot of guys that just immediately enter the transfer portal when they're not getting the playing time early. This is the benefit of being able to keep and it's a hard thing for the coaches to do is managing a roster is keeping quarterbacks that are happy and sticking around because you just never know when you're one play away from having to step up. And if Jalen Milroe's not there, we're looking at a freshman in Ty Simpson that's going to be the guy to step in. Jalen he realizes that what he's going to learn and what the experience that he's going to get out of playing for Alabama is exactly what he's going through right now. He's preparing himself for down the road, and he's going through right now. He's preparing himself for down the road, and he was prepared to go in. You know, this was a huge moment for him on the road. We're up. We had a lead. But the game was definitely not in hand, and it was only a quarter and a half into the game. We still got a lot of football left to play. I thought he held his composure extremely well, and it also makes it really tough for Arkansas, who comes in the week preparing for a Bryce Young, and then all of a sudden you get a Jalen Milroe, who I think the broadcast said looks like a Derrick Henry playing quarterback. And it's a completely different package that you got to play for. He's not going to be the downfield passer that Bryce Young is, but you saw what he did with that 70-yard run. He's got a lot of plays that he can make with his feet, but he's also got a very capable arm. I was extremely impressed by the way he came in, and even more so in that third quarter with all the things that were going wrong, he was still able to go out there and perform at a very high level. We talked about last week coming out fast and shutting the crowd noise down, and I thought that we did a great job this past Saturday in Arkansas. The first drive we opened up with, we hit Kobe Prentice early on, moving the ball extremely well, and then all of a sudden turn it over with the tip ball and the interception right off the bat. Arkansas takes over from the one. You know, I thought what we did a phenomenal job of was just forgetting that and moving on from that. And that's a huge lesson for this team is whatever happens, you got to forget about it. Coach Saban always talks about each play has a life and history of its own. Put it in the past, you can't do anything about it. And although we had things going the right way and it turns into a turnover, the defense goes out there and gets some stops and then creates a fumble of their own just a couple drives later as Arkansas is moving the ball. Those are the types of things out of these games against tough SEC opponents that you can really draw from and learn a lot of lessons from. Is that even though things might not go our way, we've still got to stand up and go out there and execute like we're supposed to. And it's going to require that for this stretch. Texas A&M going to be the next test that we have coming up. And the way they looked this past weekend against Mississippi State, taking a beating from Mike Leach's team, and I guarantee you Texas A&M we all have had this game circled. This is an important one after what we saw last year, and it's going to be a tough test. Jimbo, for whatever reason, knows how to call a great game plan against the Coach Saban coach team, and we're going to have to be ready to bounce back. You got to block out all the noise, not worry about who's going to be quarterback. Defense is going to be expected to have a good game. Texas A&M's got a lot of weapons. They can still make a lot of plays. Even though they haven't shown us a ton through this part of the season so far, we know they've recruited well. It's just a matter of them going out and executing, and they can look good at any point. You know, they've got a lot of weapons on that sideline, and Max Johnson's gotten a lot of experience with Jimbo's offense after he transferred in from LSU. And not sure who's going to be the quarterback for them this week. I think he had a little bit of an injury maybe this past weekend as well. So it's going to be tough. This is just going to be a tough test. Texas A&M is not. They've got a lot of guys on their sideline that are playmakers.
Some thoughts at the end from Corey Reamer about Texas A&M, because it is Texas A&M week here in Tuscaloosa as we get ready for Saturday night and we get ready for this Wickles Weekend Update brought to you by Wickles Pickles. They are wickedly delicious. Find out more at wickles.com. Let's take a look at what's coming up across the Crimson Tide Sports Network the rest of the week. We will be back coming up on Thursday with another edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR, coming your way at 2 p.m. on all CTSN social media outlets as we've expanded. For many years, we just did the show on Facebook. Now, of course, we're on Twitter and YouTube as well, so great options for you to find Crimson Drive. Later that night, we will also have Hey Coach and the Nick Saban Show coming up from 6:30 p.m. at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa as Chris Stewart fills in for Eli Gold as the host, and we will have the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, from 7 to 8 giving his thoughts on this matchup. Friday, we'll take a look at the best of everything from this week of programming on the CTSN with the This Week on CTSN podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. That's a perfect preview for what's coming up on Saturday. Alabama against Texas A&M. Kickoff is going to be at 7 p.m. under the lights at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Our radio coverage will begin at 4 o'clock across the network. Then Sunday, we will have the Nick Saban television show along with Tide TV This Week as we take a look back at the week that was in Crimson Tide Sports. And then on Monday, another edition of Crimson Tide Rewind at 6 p.m. from Baumhower's in Vestavia, the show you just saw a few highlights of with our Be Kind Crimson Tide Rewind post just a moment ago. Look forward to seeing everybody in the Birmingham area for Crimson Tide Rewind coming up on Monday at 6, and that is your Wickles Weekend Update, brought to you again by Wickles Pickles. And the show is presented by NASCAR, and I want you to experience the energy and the excitement of the iconic Daytona 500. Witness history in the making and purchase your tickets today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com. Just as a side note, that was a great finish to the Yellowwood 500 we saw in the race on Sunday in Talladega with Chase Elliott winning on the very final lap. We had a great conversation with Brian Crichton, the president of Talladega Super Speedway, and we're going to be talking some more NASCAR as time goes on here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. But for today, that is our show on this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Big thank you to Chance Warmack as well as Jahmyr Gibbs for joining us, along with Corey Reamer, his comments from last night's episode of Crimson Tide Rewind. Thanks to our producer, Ethan Carabin, putting the show together and getting it out to all of you as well. We appreciate you watching and hope you can join us again coming up on Thursday at 2 p.m. Central for another edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. For everybody at the Crimson Tide Sports Network, this is Roger Hoover saying so long and roll Tide.